Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's insightful webinar from resilience to readiness, overcoming barriers to HR tech adoption. I am Sharmila Thakur, and I'm thrilled to be the moderator for this engaging session. Before we deep dive into our discussion with our esteemed panelists, let me share a bit about myself. With over 2 decades of experience as a global HR leader, I had the privilege of serving organizations such as Bureau Veritas, PepsiCo, Hewlett Packard, Assign Corps, and Syncom Systems. My expertise lies in strategic alliances such as compensation and benefit, performance management and development, and M&A. I'm also a certified MBTI and SCP SHRM professional and an active member of prestigious organizations such as Forrester and Gartner. My passion is elevating human capital strategies on a global scale, championing inclusive culture and inspiring excellence in people management. I am welcoming all my panelists today. The first one where I would land now is Mary and Jason, I'm welcoming you and would love to hear a little bit about yourself. Over to you, Jason.
Thanks, Sharmila. Thank you. My name is Jason. I've been working for, I think, roughly 15, 16 years. Currently, I head people operations for FAV Tutor, which has a org strength of about 3,000 odd people. In my career, I have been through healthcare, started up healthcare and taken it to the next level. Fortunately, they become the number 1 and 2 in this country. I got privileged, to work with a telecommunications firm, then subsequently to with the technology firm, right? So it has been an journey that has taught me immensely, something that made me realize that an organization can become successful only through people, right? Incidentally, I think in my previous organization, we were listed consecutively for 5 years, top 50 best places to work by GPTW and Gallup. That's a little about me.
Thank you, Jason. And once again, welcome to the forum. I move to Mr. Vikas Duwa, Head of People Webinar Sandvik. Uh, Vikas, over to you, and we would like to hear a little bit about you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sharmila, and pleasure joining you and all the other esteemed panelists today here on this call. I've been an HR professional now for close to 2 decades. Worked across industries like hospitality, education, IT, BPO, and now most recently, since the last 3 years, I've been with a PR firm called Weber Shandwick, which is one of the world's leading PR agencies. And apart from that, along the way, I've also managed to write a book on HR using some of my lessons through my journey, and also been identified as a top voice on the LinkedIn platform where I've built a sizable community. So that's a bit about me, and really looking forward to this engaging discussion today.
Thank you, Vikas. It's good to know that we have a writer among ourselves, as well as the LinkedIn Top Voice award you have received. Wonderful to connect with you. Moving to Sanket Ramakrishnamurthy, Head of HR at AutoRabbit. Sanket. Sanket, can you hear me?
Thanks, Sharmila.
Come back to oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sharmila. It's an indeed privilege to be part of this panelist and share my insights. I have nearly 18 years of experience working in IT industry and semicon industry. I have worked with companies like Verismo, Infineon, and all in my previous venture. Now I head HR for Autorabbit India, and I've been very active in all the HR forums and communities, and I just got LinkedIn Top Voice for Human Resources in LinkedIn just today, and I just wanted to share it with all of you. So I'm here eagerly waiting to share my insights and perspectives on this topic. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sanket. I have the privilege of meeting two top LinkedIn voice. Great. And congratulations, Sanket. I move to Mr. Shashikant Jairam, CHRO Multicore Web Inc. Shashikant, over to you. You are mute, Shashikant.
Yeah, so ironical, right? A couple of people found their top voice and I was muted. So jokes apart, in an office environment, I happen to be the voice of the employees. In the home environment, I'm still trying to find my voice. But jokes apart, it's good to find one Ram follow another Ram, a Ramakrishna Murthy succeeded by a Jaya Raman. This is Shashikant. I come from the land of CSK, Rajinikanth, and hot weather. That's Chennai. I'm an HR professional with about 22 years of experience. I've worked across diverse industries, banking, retail, automobile, edtech, consulting, IT, and currently into a startup. So it's great to be in the. I passionately live my dream of being a human resource professional, and believe that when you enjoy what you do, the world enjoys what you create. So that's a bit about me, and I do indulge in a lot of speaking assignments across academia, across corporates, and excited to be here in elite company and looking forward to a fantastic session ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. What do I say? Thank you, Jayaraman. And yes, there is a lot to learn, and it's good. Humor comes out when you're speaking about it, and it's so evident that how cheerful it would be in your office. People would love to speak to you. So thank you very much, and I welcome all the audience today. And now that we have met our esteemed panelists, let's embark on this insightful journey together as we explore the transformation from resistance to readiness in adopting HR tech. And once again, I welcome all the audience, and we will start our discussion. Just a quick check. All the questions which you have, panelists, please put that in the chat box, and we will definitely try to answer each and every question towards the end of this discussion. So not taking any more time, let's begin with the session. And I am moving from the first pillar which we have today. It's understanding barriers and resistance. So my first question is to Vikas Dua. Vikas, what are the most common barriers organizations face when adopting HR tech?
Great. Super question to kick this off, Sharmila. And a question that often comes up in every organization whenever we start conceptualizing, procuring or implementing any new HR solution. And I'm sure every practitioner, including all of us on the call, would have experienced this at some point. There is always a sort of hurdle or a barrier or a resistance that we come up or face. And in my experience over different organizations or different scale and sizes, broadly, there are a few common, barriers that emerge. The first one to my mind is the, existence of a legacy system in the organization. Now, whether that's, the comfort of the team or the comfort of the organization in using something as basic as Excel to manage all their, HR data, to some large IT organizations, which some of which I've also worked with, who have along the way created their own people management software because guess what? They were IT, right? So how could they purchase from someone else? So they went into the nuts and bolts, created some sort of animal from the ground up. And over time, what ended up happening to this software was that with every new functionality, there were new patches that were added into the mix, creating a sort of multi-headed monster which was spread out throughout the organization. So these legacy systems somewhere create a huge barrier because you've got all your people information, people data sitting in different pockets in different databases in different, you can say codes, and one doesn't know how to kind of move ahead beyond that or replace that with something which is much more contemporary, much more better. So that becomes a huge stumbling block to even start. The second big resistance factor in my mind is, again, something we've encountered is the lack of many HR professionals in being able to put together a very strong and coherent business case. Because even if they understand that it's a great tool which will simplify the life of their HR staff and even the lives of the people in the organization, they're unable to kind of package it in a way that gets them the required approvals and gets them to move it through the corporate machinery. And that really comes from being able to project a very accurate, let's say, cost benefit analysis of replacing our existing system with a new one. uh, really is a big hurdle in my mind. And the last which I want to just share is, of course, the entire broad change management aspect, right? And that's something that is not alien to us as humans, whether it's our personal life or our professional workspace. Whenever there is change involved, there is a lot of resistance to it organically, because guess what? Change is hard. So you need to get people to move with you, and you need to kind of be able to show the benefits, all of that. But it doesn't come easy. So legacy systems, inability to share a strong business case, and lastly, change management. I think these three, in my mind, top the main reasons that companies face hurdles in trying to deploy new HR tech.
Great. Thank you, Vikas. Good insights. Anyone else wants to add any other point to this, to any other panelist, if they want to add something, or I can move forward? Okay, thank you. I would summarize this, Vikas, that the first one is the legacy system. The second one is the HR professional not able to showcase or explain this to the CFO and or the board that there is a business case and why do we need this system. So lack of analytical skills to and the presentation and convincing that yes, it's required for our people. And the third one is mind shift change, which is a major problem because we all always resist change, and to if we do not have the mindset, we won't be able to do it. Well said. I would move to the next question, and this one goes to Jason. Jason, in what ways can organizations mitigate employee concerns during the HR tech adoption process?
Yeah, probably I would take lead from where Vikas left it, right? Having a strong business case, right? First and foremost, I think I will need my key leaders to believe that there is a ROI involved in this whole thing. So this particular adoption that we are going to take up, right, is going to yield us this required return, right? I think I would always keep them posted on this, right? This makes the life easy because once it comes top down, it's easier to go, push people onto using the system, right? So I would firstly convince the leaders, right? So that is something that I would firstly use. The second thing, when we adopt a system, it cannot be my way or the highway, right? I have adopted this system and this is how we're going to function. No, I think most of the times what HR does is they have adopted a system. They say this is how we're going to run this, right? Ideally, I would have done a buy-in beforehand, right? Understanding some of problems that the teams would probably face and then address them beforehand. If not, I would involve them in this process. I would keep my ears open. Ideally, I would have a team that will record all these issues and then prioritize and then work with the provider in bringing out a solution, right? So that is what I would do. I think one more thing that most of the times we forget because we are so busy adopting or trying to put in a new system is that, are we creating good enough communication there? Are we creating good enough engagement and excitement before I go live on, let's say, a particular new platform that we are launching, right? And I've witnessed through my career and having adopted some of these things, creating this whole excitement that, something new is coming and this is going to make your life easy, nicer. It makes it much more easier, right? That is what I've sort of experienced in my life, and I think I would adopt these few techniques.
Thank you, Jason. I would say again, very meaningful insights. Any system which we introduce, we need to showcase that there is an ROI. That's true. And stakeholder buy-in is required, because if we cannot work in silos, we cannot be and we cannot exclude the stakeholders, and we really need to explain them that this is what we are doing. It's no more the old age where we would say, okay, the highway and the my way, where you mentioned this is what I will be doing, whether it's benefiting or not benefiting doesn't make sense. And of course, a well practiced approach is always to highlight what are the pros and cons of the system, as well as what are the areas where we would be facing the challenges, and how do we address those challenges. And anything which is, every one of us knows that any new program which we launch, we need to create buzzwords, we need to create lot of communication has to be, it should be transparent, it should be over, where people should be excited that this is coming. If we do not publicize, we do not communicate, then again we are working in silos. So thank you for bringing all these wonderful points to the table. And I believe people, our audience, are really loving it. Can I have a thumbs up from the audience saying that yes, this is really engaging and you are getting the insights? Thank you. I really appreciate it. I would move to the second pillar, which is building a business case. And my question goes to Sanket. Sanket, what strategies have proven successful in building a compelling business case for HR tech integration?
Thanks, Sharmila. I think Vikas and Jason already pressed on this. It's quite interesting that they already spoke about how business case and ROI is important if you're talking to win the case. So I've been working with MNCs and startups. So of late, I have been working with more of the startups. So anything related to the HR tech needs a lot of money, and going to the CFOs or the board of directors is with the asking for money is quite a lot of challenge for every HR like us, right? So I think how do we really strategize this? If you ask me, we need to start addressing the pain points that we are going through at this point of time. So we need to be very clear what are the challenges within the HR existing process which we can address when integrating with the HR techs? How we can really streamline the recruitment by automating onboarding or improving employee engagement activities, how the retention or how the analytics can really help us out. So you need to really address some pain points and bring it onto the table and say, this is going to address and give us so much solutions. Well, coming back to the next point, I would say, we should be able to just show them what are the tangible benefits of integration within HR tech, right? It could be in terms of cost saving, time saving, accuracy, increased productivity, and we should be able to tell them by this we'll be able to make a proper decision making capabilities, because there is an availability of data and metrics when we start using HR tech. So obviously, your decisions are not just based on perceptions, and it'll be actual, it'll be reliable, and it is foolproof. The third one I would like to talk about is you can demonstrate the competitive advantages that you get when you have something HR tech, which is intern, right? I mean, because research, if you see the recent research which has already happened, they showcase like how competitors and industry leaders are leveraging similar HR tech solutions to gain the competitive edge. So I think uh, uh, and the other thing, most important thing is we should be able to justify, in terms of what is the benefit analysis that we are going to get through. How can we do this in comparing with the investment required for a HR tech along with the anticipated benefits over time, right? It can't happen sudden that I can show to the board or I can show to the CFO. I'm able to, save some decent amount by, getting introduced into the HR tech or integrating into the system. But yes, if you see there is a clear and concise manner, we can be able to illustrate the financial viability of the proposal, then we go and put it across. And as Jason really said, without a proper user adoption and training, nothing works out, right? So you should be able to do a top-down approach, win over sponsorships from your own executive management team, where they should be able to walk the talk kind of a thing. Why we need it, and also when Vikas was talking about the change management in this third point, I think these all are some strategies that we can really put it in place when we go and discuss initially why we need, or we can create as a business case when we go to our leaders and ask them why we need a HR tech integration.
Thank you, Sanket. Very valid points, and I can relate to this because I will share a small point on this, because after the pandemic, we were doing an employee engagement survey, and you all will agree that the coffee machine talk is so important, and the data shared at that time, although it's not reliable, but you get all the insights. And how do you capture that data? So we came up with a process where we said we'll introduce an employee engagement, which will be totally outside the organization. It will be handled by a third party, and we will just get the insight. But to do that, we had to really create a business case and explain this uh, to our board, saying that we are not getting the real pulse of the organization. It's so repeatedly, everyone knows the question. We are running the program since last 5 years. They are well aware about the program. Do how do we innovate it? And that's how we started coming up with a new process where the questions was picked up on, especially from the data which we got from the coffee vending discussion, and we created a survey on the basis of that, and to come up with real inputs what was happening. Just to add on, this is how we reinforced that we are ready to listen to our people. Very well said, Sanket, that yes, we
Sharmila,
have to show.
I have to add one more point, which is very important for all
Yes,
the HRs.
please go ahead.
We should not miss this. Align with the organizational goals. So whatever you try to do, please use this align with the organizational goals in front of your business case with the managers. I mean, your board of directors. So this is where you will be able to show them the broader goals and objectives, and then highlight how this is going to help in achieving the strategic initiatives. We all know how this aligning with organizational goals work, but certainly we should not forget this is one of the important point when we put it across as a business case.
True. That's the point which even I was going to mention, where you also mentioned the top-down approach and walk the talk, as well as you said it should be valid and accurate. So thank you very much. I am moving to our next panelist, and I come back to you, Vikas. Uh, and the question is, how do you gain support from key stakeholders, and what are the key elements of a persuasive pitch?
Sure. So, Shamila, I think both Sanket and Jason also spoke about how stakeholders have to be carried along, and you need to have that buy-in, and that's really, in my mind, the starting point. Essentially, if you look at deployment of HR tech in any organization, you will see clearly that there are a few invested and impacted parties, right? Uh, Finance clearly, IT for sure. Depending on the scale of the organization, there could also be a risk team or a legal team that's going to be involved. The business or the operations team, because most of the people and would report and roll up into them, and eventually the staff operations lead to the business results and so on. So they are extremely key as well. So what you've got to understand is that each one of these stakeholders has a different requirement out of that HR tech, and has a different pain point which needs to be solved. So you've got to sort of understand what is that pain point, like Sanket rightly said, he used that right term, and figure out the part of the solution which is going to help them solve that pain point. For example, in the case of finance, is very clearly driving efficiency so that costs reduce. In the case of business, it could be making life simple for the employees, like Jason alluded to, right? In the case of risk management, it is very clear that data security is of paramount importance, and it can't be at the expense of they can't take the risk of the company getting impacted in any way. So once you kind of got all this zoned down, you've got to start having the right conversation, the right pockets, and make them or carry those people along with you in the decision making process. Again, keep in mind that often the mistake we make as HR professionals is we like to go top down and start talking to the CFO, the chief risk officer, and so on. What's more important sometimes is to go one or two levels below to the business finance manager level or to the financial controller level and get them to also start liking the product, liking the solution. Because the CFO will do what his team kind of signs off on or starts telling him. And if they see that benefit, if they see the advantage of the HR tech that you're proposing, then you will find it easier to get the CFO also to nod. So that's the strategy that I would, recommend for taking these stakeholders along and getting the buy-in.
Thank you, Vikas, and I totally agree. It's not always the top-down approach. There are times when you have to have the middle management, especially to be fully convinced that yes, this is the product which will make their life easier. Uh, Adding here, I believe all of us know that when we were doing the onboarding, virtual onboarding and the pandemic situation, we faced a lot of challenges, but ultimately we had to find a solution and make sure that our managers played a much more, middle managers played a much more engaging role of making sure that they were more engaged and they were giving a wow factor of onboarding to our new resources during the virtual onboarding and pandemic. So thank you. It's wonderful. And I move to the next question, which is to Jason. Jason, the question is where if you could share some examples of organizations that successfully secured stakeholders buy-in for HR tech project. Sorry.
All right. Yeah. Right. I think first and foremost, just connecting dots of what most of them are saying here, a good agile HR system primarily takes into account, your customers, your business, and then the employees, right? And once you're able to see this cusp or this interlinkage, that is when you can try and take decisions that are favorable to most of the stakeholders, right? But I think coming specific to this point, there are multiple organizations that have adopted. I think there would be probably scenarios that are way beyond my understanding. But something that I liked was how Accenture got their entire onboarding moved to a virtual platform, right? They started using, I think, the VR technology. Probably it's also linked with the Web3 technology, wherein even if the employee couldn't go to the office, they created an environment which looked like your office, right? And they could go through that and then witness what was happening. They could meet people through their avatars, or even put to, they were having a face to see rather than just connecting via Zoom. So this sort of helped them. Another example that I would share is where we personally did this, coming from organization where we believe that people connect was very important. We celebrated people's success every month, and all of a sudden there was no connect, right? That is when we went into this whole concept of the virtual event, right? A virtual event where we could celebrate success like we always did. This particular employee could be brought on stage, and there was somebody who would call out the award and give just that. There was complete social distancing. The employee still would feel that sense of pride, and then that is posted across your HCM tool or your social media tool that the organization uses. I think these are two use cases that I can think of that changed, I think, the way we worked, and that is something uh, I would try and always keep in mind. But yes, again, I would go back whenever I take such decisions, trying to link it with, am I an agile HR system, right? That is what I would try and do. That's two bits from my side, Sharmila.
Thank you, Jason. And well said. Yes, as everything is everything has become agile. HR is definitely has become agile. HR has become much more, in true sense, have become the real business partners, because they collaborate and they come up with solutions as well as systems which are no more, cumbersome situations where they have to have difficulty adopting it. It's more HR is also learning and adopting, and same is the business is learning and adapting. Thank you so much. I will move to Shashikant. Uh, Sorry, I will move to the next pillar. My apologies. It's collaborative approach, and I go back to Vikas. Vikas, the question for you is, what collaborative approach between HR, IT, and other departments have yielded positive results in HR tech adoption? I know you have given some inputs on this. Little bit elaborated one would help us understand this a little bit in a better detailed manner.
Sure. So Sharmila, carrying on what I shared earlier in terms of being able to take all these stakeholders along, I feel the right approach is to kind of take them on right at the start of conceptualizing, the integration of any new technology that you want to bring into HR. So don't do it at a late stage once you've already identified which platform you want to go with, what problem area of HR you're trying to solve, because by that time it's almost comes across as that you anyway decided what are you involving me now for. And by design, people resist that kind of approach in a corporate scenario. So what is advisable is to kind of start discussing, bringing in different thoughts into the meeting room when you think of adding in some HR tech platform, and start off right off the bat with taking a sign off to have a cross-functional team which can brainstorm and start evaluating solutions. And typically such a team could be comprised of not only your HR or TA folks, but even a representative from risk team, IT team, finance team. So the evaluation happens in a holistic 360-degree manner, and everyone contributes right from scratch in terms of even identifying solutions in the market, comparing the features, costings, the potential advantages to the organization, or the potential gaps that the solution may not solve, which then helps also, like I shared earlier, in these representatives kind of laddering back to their supervisors, to their leaders also outside of that cross-functional team, and aligning them to the larger objective. And therefore once you come closer to actually signing off or getting onto a table where you have to take a decision in terms of where to, on which direction to move in, then you have not just the HR guy speaking in the room, but you have all these 5 invested individuals raising their hands and contributing to that discussion. So that's the approach that I would recommend.
Thank you, Vikas, and I agree to this. And I think all of us here in the panelists will agree that we really need to engage all the respective teams from the beginning, and not in the middle or in the end, just for a formality, to have a right mindset as well as have right brainstorming sessions to understand if we are on the right track or not. I would move to Sanket. And Sanket, here I would like to ask you a question on how can organizations foster a culture of openness and adaptability to facilitate smoother HR tech integration?
Uh, See, when things fail, it's only because we are the only decision makers and we don't take the confidence of other stakeholders in the organization, right? Because unless it is not collaborative culture, people will start thinking that, okay, HR is driving this, HR is initiating, it is only for them. So to break those kind of thing, it is better that even like how Vikas said, right from the starting, I mean, right from the demo itself, if we try to involve, IT, a few stakeholders from the business management and relevant departments who can be part of the decision making capability, right? I mean, it will always feel that, okay, we are involved right from the day one and we know in and out of the tech integration part. So when you go and talk to the stakeholders, this collaboration effort will always support because it is not just the HR who is speaking for the HR tech integration. There are people from support, the business leaders, they will be backing you up why they really require. So if you have a culture of encouraging feedback, right, that also will certainly help you, because it gives because a lot of people will be able to come and tell you, okay, this is great, but I feel these are some concerns that I have. These are some ideas that we would like to have in something that we want. Because when we go and evaluate or we go through a lot of demos, we have a different perspective being an HR, being working as an HR. So we only be thinking from that perspective. But when we have a cross-functional departments coming and helping us in making decisions, we will be able to evaluate a best tool which can really relate to the culture of the organization. So that is where I was talking about how we can align to the organizational culture and goals, right? So it is always good that cross functional collaboration needs to be there. The other important things that we need to understand is, do we have a or do we encourage a mindset of experimentation and learning? Does employees feel empowered to try new approaches and technologies? Are they ready for those changes? Because we are all tend to make some mistakes in a learning process, but do we really learn from that failure and also forgive the kind of mistakes that what we do? When someone is trying to do something by working on a new HR tech, implementation, there are some things which will go right and which might not, which might go against what we wanted. But do we have that flexibility to experiment? Is something that the organization culture should really think about. As Vikas was talking about, it is not just about um, just bringing into the system into the organization and showcasing it as a change management thing. As Jason also said, adoption is something which is very important. When we talk about adoption, it is more of a training and educating, how HR tech tools can really help the employees to catch up to the next level, or how it is very effective for them to go through, and what are the potential benefits that they have, what are the training posters that we can really put it across, right? So all these things is what I feel, Sharmila, you need to imbibe in the culture. Most of it, whatever it is said and done, you need to have a leadership support and a proper communication channel. Unless the leaders don't back you up, who are not an advocate for openness to change and and communicate the benefit of HR tech integration clearly to all the stakeholders in the town hall or in their own internal team meetings, it will not be so effective. So said and done, I think leadership support and effective communication, transparency in decision making, and flexibility is something that I always wonder. Unless and also the big thumbs up for all those people who would love to be part of HR tech decision making process, though it is not a part of their actual role. So all the ITs, business leads, and that is what we internally do in Rabbit. I think any HR tech or any kind of decision, we just don't take it from one single department. We have a cross-functional team which sits up all through this, and we collectively make a decision to take up that tool for the integration and implementation. And really, it has worked out positive for us. And that's from my experience. I'm sharing this.
Thank you, and wonderful. I totally agree. We really need to build a culture where we support learning from failure. We support that there should be a culture of innovation, as well as definitely leaders are the one who should support the mind shift change, the change management, and the decisions which will support and transform the organization culture. Thank you very much, Sanket. And I move to Shashikant. Shashikant, the question is, what role does cross-functional collaboration play in overcoming resistance and driving successful adoption?
Okay. Yeah. So see, first of all, you don't implement a system for the sake of implementing, right? You start with the why of it, right? It's not about the what and the how. So often we get muddled in what do we do and how do we do, but fundamentally we need to ask ourselves, why are we doing it? Are we doing it just because somebody else in the competition is doing it, or is there an intrinsic need that is driving me to get into something? And that need has to emanate from stakeholders with whom HR works effectively, right? Or works to serve and collaborate with. So first of all, I would look for identifying needs and acknowledge that the needs of leveraging a system could be different for different functions, right? The diversity needs to be acknowledged. And having done that, I would rather look at how do I go about gaining buy-in, right? Resistance to change is common, especially when implementing new systems. But when you have, as already stated by my co-panelists here, involving representatives from various departments in the overall decision-making process, you can actually gain some buy-in. And when you feel that, hey, I'm part of it, my need is acknowledged, then the what's in it for me gets automatically addressed. When what's in it for me is addressed, then it's a matter of time before you leverage expertise from various functions. For example, data security is something that IT can come and play a role with a far degree of expertise than people from within the HR function itself, right? Just to give you an example. And then once all this come together, I think the ball is set rolling, and the buck just doesn't stop there because once you start implementing, are we committing together to collaborate for continuous improvement? When that happens, right, then it's not just a one swallow that makes a summer. It's something that is ongoing, and there will be a commitment from each of the concerned stakeholders to ensure that we stay invested and collaborative through the entire process of seeing a seamless implementation and execution of a process.
Well, thank you, Shashikant. I totally agree to this, that where you mention what is there for me, and if my need has been addressed, and if it is addressed, that means I am fully onboarded on this project, and I will be backing the project because I see a value for it. And I also agree to this, the point where you mentioned on collaboration, on continuous improvement, because any system can be set up, but then there are a lot of things which it has to be implement. It has to be adopted, as well as there will be a lot of new features which will be coming in, and we have to adapt to those changes in the future too. So very, very valid points, and thank you very much.
If I may add a footnote, Sharmila, ensuring cross-functional collaboration is like running a coalition government. However minor your coalition partner may be, you still need to make them believe that there is something in it for everybody, and every single seat is important to actually run the show. 2 cents there.
Thank you, Shashi. In fact, I would say this is the point where our politician also needs to understand that there is always a cross-functional, and they should learn this and see how well the system works. And the same way in our organizations, where even if there is one person in a team, and if we do not engage that person becomes disengaged and is always there to system. So thank you. It's a very valid point. I really love this point. I will now move to the fourth and last pillar, and that is real world examples and change management. And I'm engaging. In fact, I'm going back to Shashikant, where I would ask him what specific challenges arises in managing change during HR tech adoption, and how have they been successfully navigated?
All right. The first and foremost is, hey, if there is an existing system that's working fine, why rock the boat, right? It's like, as much as we may say that we are seeking to push boundaries, look at going beyond barriers, the human mind has a tendency to stay in the comfort zone. You'll say, when everything is fine, why rock it? Right. So I think it's psychological first in terms of the resistance, and that comes from resistance to change. The way I would like to address it is, create as much awareness as I can and bring about user training. See, at the end of the day, how do you say that a line is long or short? by drawing another line, by posing a credible alternative to an existing system, which will help me challenge the status quo, right? So when I draw a bigger line adjacent to a smaller line, I know, hey, this is longer or this is bigger or this is thicker, whatever it is, right? So to me, the first thing I would resort to, as I was saying, is to get into user training by building awareness and then have enough shows so that the adoption rate is more. The other challenge that I would see is in terms of integration of technology with existing systems or existing cultural beliefs, or integrating it with the various needs. It's quite likely that everybody would have got the cake, but nobody would believe that I've got the biggest piece of it. So how do I make them believe that as part of my stakeholder management, that hey, everybody's got the biggest, best piece, and yes, at a fundamental level, you've got a piece of the cake as well. I think that is one. Increasingly in today's world of digitalization, I see people raising concerns on data security. So one of the key features of implementing an HRMS system I would look for is, hey, how much do I evangelize the fact that this is robust enough and data is as solid as rock, and that's not going to be poked upon at any given point in time. So I think with these, and there are some who would believe that the existing methods of user interface, right? Hey, you know what? I come from the baby boomer generation. I'm comfortable doing it on the laptop. Somebody would say, hey, you know what? I would do it with an app, or somebody would say, I'm happy doing it with AI support. Whatever it be, if there are various means of interface with the end user is going to be happy, and it's going to be a bottom-up approach wherein with the en masse larger population being happy, it's going to have a rubbing off effect on the leads and then to the managers and then to the leaders and so on and so forth.
Thank you, Shashikant. Valid points. I agree that we really need to create an impact if we are putting across a new system. And you very well said, human mind is always in the comfort zone. They don't want to come out of it. And but we really need to create, as if something is going well doesn't mean that we cannot change it and we cannot adapt to the new technology or new versions in our life and move around. Of course, data is something which we all are always concerned on, but we have a lot of cybersecurity and data security processes which is helping us build systems which are very secure. I will move to the next question to Jason. And Jason, my question to you is, can you share a real world example of an organization that effectively turned HR tech challenges into success?
Sure, Sharmila. I think I will try and keep it short and try and choose maybe two, three different examples. The first one would be wherein there was a requirement of huge manpower requests coming from a particular geography. And when we looked at the overall productivity numbers, it looked like we are short-staffed, right? But that is when we linked this number back to specific sub-geographies within that geography, and then trying to look at the same data, right? That is when it was clearly evident that in a particular geography X, somebody was totally underutilized. In another geography, somebody was overutilized, right? And this was a trend that we were watching. And let's say when specific to our business, when COVID hit in and the business requirement spurted up, say like 1 lakh new subscribers asking for a connection, we literally, if we had to look at that way to hire, that would have been an impossible task, right? That is when we linked these numbers to geographies and then looked at a very dynamic allocation of people, right? Trying and seeing that, okay, geography X is closer to geography Y, why don't we allocate them there, right? Likewise. So I think that was where we were able to work with, linking analytics with the actual manpower numbers. That was one case scenario wherein I think which it really helped us cut on cost, stay lean. Another aspect that I would say is, let's say that is used in the BFSI. There is a new plan that is launched. There is a new scheme that is launched. How do you communicate? In a very primitive state, we would have communicated, call them, get them over a Zoom call, and do this. But in today's generation, it's a bite-sized learning, right? Why don't you send it through your LMS notification that this is the scheme for this week or this month, right? Thereby, this guy knows, okay, today this is my selling point. Likewise, his incentives too. Sell this today, and this is what you make, right? I think this really yielded us amazing financial business results. Just another softer use case. I think all of us returning back to office is something that we're still dealing with. And with offices having been downsized and having smaller offices, it's so important that you need to know how many workstations you have and how many people need to come in, right? As simple as that. And I think there is a system today in place where I can pre-book my slot and come into office, if not just work from home. So these are three simple use cases that I could think of, Sharmila.
Thank you very much, Jason. Thank you, guys. I believe it was very insightful, and I'm opening the floor to you all. If any one of you wants to summarize, please be my guest. Shashikant or Vivek or Vikas, any one of you, if you want to summarize this for me.
So happy to do that. Sharmila, I think great learnings and great insights from each of the panelists. I think overall message I think I took away is that the HR tech integration journey is a organization changing journey which cannot and shouldn't be handled directly and solely by the HR folks themselves. The way to make that journey more comfortable, more smooth for the entire organization and the practitioners is really to work in partnership with people across different functions of the business, so that the right solution with the right parameters is deployed in the right time frame, and which can help support the employee ecosystem. That's the little bit that I would like to just end with.
Thank you, Vikas. Shashikant? You're mute.
Yes, yes, yes. I just realized. Yeah. I while I would like to apologize, I would like to say it's my humility getting expressed. But jokes apart, I think it was good listening to the co-panelist, and thanks to your moderation. To me, how much ever change you bring, I think it's not so. HR has to wear multiple hats: that of stakeholder management, that of a little bit of tech awareness, a little bit of collaboration with all people involved, and not to forget evangelism of what you're trying to bring, and highlighting what is there for every little stakeholder in the process. So I think it's not just a one facet of HR that would manifest during such transformational processes, but quite a few facets that needs to come to the fore. And the biggest challenge is, how does HR balance all of these and still deliver a world-class experience to employees and ROI to the management, and making life seamless for themselves?
Thank you. Well said, Vikas and Shashikant, sorry. Jason, you would like to add, or Sanket?
Yeah, I would just probably add in a couple of lines. I'm a total advocate, a big advocate of a direct conversation, right? So the people aspect cannot be ever eliminated, right? There is nothing that can replace a human conversation any day, right? What technology can help us is with some of the things that are more meaningful, probably more data driven, that can make you have a meaningful conversation, right? I would always rely on people first, right? Backed by technology. And coming to adoption, I think evangelize, ROI, communicate. I think that's what I would do.
Thank you. Sanket, would you like to add something?
Sanket, you're on mute.
Sorry. I'm completely with Jason on this because I'm also a people-oriented guy. I always believe that, whatever the tech solutions, whatever the HR tech or AI comes in place, it is the human interaction with the other person will have its own benefits. Uh, I just want to add up with all the other three people who have already said it. So one thing is uh, HR tech integration is not just a one-time kind of an event, right? It's an ongoing process. It's a continuous improvement. So we should always encourage continuous feedback or reiteration to refine HR tech solutions over time. So we, as the people who are the customers or the clients for a lot of HR tech solutions, we should be able to go and demonstrate some commitment for the improvement of technology itself, right? I mean, we see through a lot of demos from various HR tech solutions, but we don't go back and give them some feedback. At least that what I feel as a HRs is, it's our commitment also to refine something which we really require, or so those things can really change the HR world. So by prioritizing openness and adaptability with whatever the HR tech solutions are coming up, we should create a culture that not only facilitates a smooth HR integration, but also fosters innovation and resilience in the face of future challenges. I think that is something that I want to put it across here onto the discussion.
Thank you, Sanket, and thank you, each one of you. Well said, very well said. And on a lighter note, if I would say, uh, we all know that empathetic HR, not lighter note, it's a very important point that as an empathetic HR, connecting to our people is our first priority, uh, understanding their needs and delivering those is what is right. We have gone ahead and we have chatbots and everything. Chatbots really is good when we are applying for a leave, but when we are discussing our performance management, we want the real person to be in front of us and not discuss it with the chatbot. That's how technology will play an important role. Human always needs a human to listen to them. And I mentioned this because I have this experience where when we implemented chatbots in our office, our employees were very happy when they were applying for the leaves. But when we said, okay, now they will do your performance management, none of them were happy. So you can understand how important human touch plays a role. I would now open the floor for the question and answer session. And I would like to see what are the questions. And if you want to ask the question to any specific panelist, please mention their name. Otherwise, whoever is available at the in the panel and they want to take this question, I will start that. The first question is from Ganpati, and the question is: do you guys feel that would be great if you had these features or modules in the HRMS software that is being used by you? Which model are you talking about, Ganpati? If we can, I can't see the chats. Ganpati, yes. Could you emphasize on the question because I couldn't understand, guys. You could understand this. Do you guys feel that would be great if you had these
Probably is asking for our wish list.
features in the HRMS?
No, rather
Okay,
than
that is being
saying,
used by you.
can I answer? I kind of
Yes,
understood
please.
that a bit. Sure. I, I would not give him a straight answer because the question wasn't straight. But then, it's what I want is so different from what he would want as an HR practitioner, because the contextual difference exists, right? What works in my industry, my company, my industry at a macro level, and my culture at a micro level is not something that he would want. Rather, I would focus on, is my system flexible enough to accommodate customizations or specific needs while continuing to remain robust. So if that is so, a case in point is my HRMS, the system that I currently use. I wouldn't may not be the chart topper, but then it offers a great deal of customization, and it allows me to experiment, innovate, and fulfill an idea that would come to my mind. Hey, here is a need. Can we start catering to this through a system? More often than not, the answer is yes. And that's a huge enabler mentally and system wise. So I would look from that perspective.
I agree. I think adding on to Shashikant, the most ideal system would be, let's say, I just have to route arrows, put in this direction, let's say, design a process flow. And if that would happen the way I would want it, right? Basically something like a low code, no code, wherein I'm not a programmer, but I get to just define the workflow that way. I think that will be a dream come true for me.
Are you talking
Thank
about
you, Jason.
drag and drop, that kind of stuff? Is that what, Jason, you said?
Yes, Shashikant. Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
Okay. Thank you, Shashikant and Jason. Is there any other question, guys? I cannot find anything in the chat box. Okay, if there is no question, then I would like to thank all the audience as well as each of my panelists for taking out time today and giving their valuable time and the insights. It was definitely a wonderful session and I really enjoyed it. And I hope the audience enjoyed these. There is some new message. Let me just see what it is. Or just say thank you. Thank you all and have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you, Shashikant, Jason, Sanket. And I would also, Vikas, and I would also like to thank Bharat, HROne, and Pulkit. Thank you very much. Have a good day ahead, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, fellow panelists. Thank you, Sharmila. Thank you, audience.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Thank you so much.
More power to HR. Bye-bye.